Welcome everybody to another episode of Amplify Your Business. Today we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency, investing, a whole pile of other things with my guest today who is a serial entrepreneur. I mean, this guy went from shoveling driveways to importing exotic cars, I think you said, and then into the crypto business and a whole pile of other businesses in between those ones. And so I'm very excited to be talking to you today. Graham Hansen, the CEO and co-founder of Cash2Crypto. Welcome to the show, Graham.
Hey, thanks for having me, Lance.
Okay, so I'm really excited to talk to you today about your experience being an entrepreneur, because there's very few entrepreneurs that I get to talk to who have started at such a young age and have done so many different things throughout their life. And, you know, it's really just been bred into you. It sounds like you said that your dad was an entrepreneur too. And so I think you said the construction industry. So you grew up in this ecosystem of being entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got exposure to it, fortunately enough for myself. Got exposure to it at a very young age. And I was out there at, the age of like 9, 10, building decks with my dad, just on the small scale. Saw his business, like how he operated, a number of team members, and really set me up for hopefully success, or got me on the hamster wheel, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And so this first question I want to ask you is going to draw on all that experience that you've had as an entrepreneur over all these years. And so that is, what are 3 things that you feel every entrepreneur needs to know?
One is just persistence. You're going to have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do, but be persistent. Don't give up. If you've identified like a good problem, and you have a good solution to it, just keep going. And then number 2 is don't do it without money. I've tried starting businesses without money in the past, and depending on the business, especially like for the businesses we're working on now, it's really difficult to start a business when you don't have any money. And then 3 is just surround yourself with good people. It takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to raise a startup and a business. You can't do it alone.
Yeah. And speaking of surrounding yourself with, the right people in that community, I know Cash2Crypto, you are a co-founder. And so obviously you're starting with some other founders, or another founder, singular, plural, I'm not sure. And then it sounded like you have a lot of other experts who are, have some intimate understanding of traditional banking as well. And so it sounds like you've really made an effort to make sure that this particular business has all the right players in it. Talk to me a little bit about Cash2Crypto, what it is that you guys are doing there, and I guess who your partners are.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really started out, so I obviously joined up with my co-founder, Andre. He came from the traditional banking system. He had already kind of like started the Cash2Crypto before I actually joined. And he was doing, private wealth and some ATM side of things. And then I came in as from the platform side of things, and seeing like the bigger vision in terms of like, hey, there's a massive gap in the industry right now. You have a lot of these products that serve like Gen X or Millennial Gen Zs or institutionals, but there's nothing for like the broader mass audience. And that's where we kind of like picked it up, and we really just started like chipping away and trying to solve that problem.
And so what are the goals, I guess, of Cash2Crypto? What are you guys trying to accomplish over there?
Yeah, really the main goal we're trying to accomplish is bringing cryptocurrency to the masses in the like most easy to use way and safest way possible. So our solution is really bred around like simplicity and then also security. So our customers hold their money to their cryptocurrency 100% of the time, and they have full ownership of it throughout the whole process.
Yeah, so the security part of it is definitely something that is going to be a big appeal for the masses, right? Because we're hearing, in recent news cycles, the collapse of exchanges and other types of challenges there. And so does that, I guess, dissuade people from getting into crypto, or do you think that, like a lot of other businesses, no press is bad press in a way where it just continues to keep crypto in the headlines and in people's minds. And as we're seeing the fluctuations, it brings in new investors as well. So how do you, I guess, judge how damaging those kinds of things are, and how do you deal with that question of security that I'd imagine a lot of people have?
Yeah, so on the Cash2Crypto side, and just like what we're trying to do, that actually just furthers our mission. And really, anybody who's already in cryptocurrency, like believes in it, they already see that like self-custody and moving towards like a solution like ours is like that much more valuable. And then in terms of just like the regular like retail investor, I guess it is super unfortunate like what's happening. It's terrible. Lots of people obviously losing a lot of money. It will also drive like regulation, which will be good for the space. And at this point in time, cryptocurrency is not going away. So that will just accelerate the process at which, it will actually have some sort of regulations. And I'm of the opinion that, there's Mt. Gox back many years ago, which was 75% of the trading volume. FTX and some of the other exchanges are actually only 25% of the trading volume. And so we got over that at Mt. Gox, and we'll get over this.
Yeah. It's just going to be, I would think, a mild setback in the story of cryptocurrency, right, in the mass adoption. What do you think is going to be the things that will just really accelerate your company's growth over the next few years?
Grind. No, so we've been like, we've really adopted being scrappy. Everything, just like from, like, I encourage any sort of entrepreneur that I deal with to like automate as much as possible, especially like a team with ours, like we're bootstrapped fully. Now, like we took out some personal loans and that's about it. And it's been like, you have to get very creative in terms of the way you approach problems and the way you have to almost like alleviate your team, like delegate instead of like hiring on somebody else, which obviously is great for, stimulating economy and job growth. But like for us, it's just not in our budget. So we delegate it to an automation of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when it comes to the company as it is right now, you guys are operating Western Canada right now, is that right? Or are you?
Yeah, predominantly across. Well, we're technically nationwide for our online services, but our hybrid is Western Canada.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about those services. And so you have the ATM machines, you have the online service. Just explain to us a little bit more about what it is that you guys do to facilitate that investment into crypto.
Yeah, so we so in terms of just like everything that our current offering, how we really went about it is we had a number of different, we tested a bunch of different like revenue streams, I'll say, and we're just honing them down. Now we're really just focusing on our automated investing or like dollar cost averaging solution for our clientele. It's in our opinion, it's really, you want to focus on like have some hyper focus on something, especially with a small team. You get you're too spread out and you just can't execute effectively. Yeah. So automated investing is the main one that we're moving forward with. Yeah.
And that's then done through the online service that you have, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so just so people understand, what is it that you're, the reason or the rationale for pushing hard in that direction versus some of the other, the ATMs and other things that you guys were doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So private wealth and our automated investing, there's actually a lot of overlap there. Same sort of clientele. So we still do, we kind of bundle those into one. We call it automated investing in one now. Why we chose to go that route versus our hybrid brick and mortar route was mostly for scalability. We looked at it and we said, okay, we can now switch on in Canada, the US, Australia, and Europe relatively easily through our payment provider. And yeah, like as long as we have our licensing and our payment provider, we essentially flick of a switch. That's an overgeneralization, but we can expand to those regions.
Now, you did mention earlier in the conversation just about being in favor of regulation, more regulation coming in, which will be the result of maybe some of the things that have been happening recently in the news. And so, is that something that you feel is going to make it challenging for you to enter other countries? As you just mentioned, that's kind of your growth plan, is to be able to turn that switch on, so to speak. And each country is kind of taking a different approach, or will be taking a different approach, I'd imagine, from a regulatory standpoint. Is that going to be problematic in your estimation, or is the pain worth it, I guess, at the end of the day, for what you guys are trying to build there?
So every region, regardless of where, as long as you're like, if you want to go to, especially the regions, jurisdictions that I've outlined, like it's just like a nature of the game. It's just like it's just something you have to do. It's just another thing you have to check off in order to operate your business. Our business, obviously, with that compliance added like barrier, we'll say it's a barrier, but yeah, it's just a thing you have to do to operate. It's you just accept it.
Yeah. And I'd imagine as the regulation becomes more complex, which I suspect it will happen, as that occurs, that will create potentially a barrier to entry for other companies, right, who are trying to get into the space. And so that might actually help you out in the sense that it's going to build a bit of a moat around your business. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say more complex. It would probably get more defined. Like right now, we're looking in this kind of a gray area, and it's like very fluid. The regulations are very fluid. So as you kind of get established, then you have to like make changes as you go. Whereas if somebody just starts up, it's like already they know it's cut and dry. They know what to do, and yeah, I've obviously been through it once, and so I know, but it seems to be pretty easy. I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. If you get it, you get it. Different jurisdictions obviously have like a number of different barriers, but yeah, depends on the solution and the product you want to build out to.
Okay, so in terms of defining success, how do you personally define success then as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I don't define success from just a fiscal point of view. I actually define success in like obviously success in my relationships, success with my like family. So I think like success is really more than just a nominal number. I've really been struggling with in just like dealing with some like mentors and stuff like that, and asking them, they say, what's your what and why? And I'm like, okay, well, I know what my why is. What I want to achieve is very difficult to define, only because I see the opportunity, and it's the opportunity is pretty big.
Yeah, well, I think opportunities just in general, because as a serial entrepreneur, you really are stricken with this. One could say an advantage or an opportunity into itself, or also a challenge in that you obviously are seeing lots of different opportunities. So how do you apply focus now?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. You really have to be strict. I had somebody on a call today, even he was like, hey, could you build this out for me? Like, it can bring in some additional revenue, bring in some clientele. And I was just like, sorry, no. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, he's like, the volume was there. It was like, but it was just like, I was like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. You just have to be able to say no, is pretty much it. Like, you have to know okay, I've identified something that is a big enough problem and has like large enough potential. And I can say, okay, like this is what I'm going to focus on. Other things you can use. We did this initially where we used other revenue streams to subsidize our business. that was fine initially, but at this point in time where we're really like honing in, focusing in on the goals we want to achieve.
Yeah, focus is so critical, right? In terms of you know, your experiences over the years in starting other businesses, and either selling or winding them down and then starting new ventures and that, and I know that you do some stuff simultaneously. This isn't the only thing that you've got your fingers into right now. I'm curious, what do you find easier now at this stage of your entrepreneurial journey than what it was, say, 5 years ago even?
What I find easier now?
Yeah. So what's easier for you at this point in your journey as an entrepreneur than what, were maybe struggles in the past?
I think it's just at this point in time, you've made enough mistakes that you've like learned enough lessons where you kind of like have a little bit of a base. You have a baseline to like a foundation where you're like, okay, like this is like a foundation of most businesses, and then you just kind of like build on top of that. So I think like that's pretty much the easiest, is just experience like running a bunch of different businesses, failing a number of times. That's built a foundation where I can actually, now I know like it's like spinning up a new business is not that difficult.
Yeah, you've been there, done that, right? It's not something that is nearly as challenging or confusing, or you have the experience. I'm on a similar vein. What is one of the most difficult lessons that you've had to learn along the way?
Probably like starting a business with no money is hard. And I say that because it was like I started a company called Toolshare. I was really passionate about it. I saw the problem of like the peer-to-peer lending, and really passionate about like reducing some consumerism, and it was just trying to like grind it out with a couple other co-founders and no money, and it just was just hard. That's probably it for sure.
Yeah. So now then the lesson there is find investors first, or partners who have some pockets anyway.
Absolutely. And it depends on the business, right? Like it obviously for the businesses that I'm pursuing and like the goals that I have, capital is appreciated and definitely goes a long way. But there's definitely some businesses you can go out and start without having too much capital, but it's just challenging.
Yeah, totally. I'm curious, you did allude to that you do know your why, but what inspires you? What keeps you going day in and day out as you're building this business and just being an entrepreneur, the challenges that come along with entrepreneurship? What keeps you going? What inspires you?
Yeah, I'm addicted to it. That's pretty much it. I actually have a problem. That's my answer. I honestly think about it 24/7, blessing and a curse. My girlfriend hates it because I'm just like constantly like thinking about business. I'm just like in like, I call this hamster wheel because I'm just like in this perpetual obsession with it. I don't know why. I just love it too. It's just like, it's addictive. That's what keeps me going.
It's definitely creates the drive, right? And so I guess the flip side of that, I mean, that's one thing that I love as well, is it's embedded in me. Similar to you, I was very young and entrepreneur to start with, and my family we're all very entrepreneurial, and so it's normal. That's the lifestyle. I get that. What is one of the most difficult things, besides maybe the girlfriend being a little upset with you because you can never turn off, but what is one of the most difficult things about the entrepreneurial lifestyle in your opinion?
I actually don't know. It's just like, it's a lonely road, I guess you could say. Like it is a lonely road in terms of like, you don't have a lot of people, peers that do pursue it. They don't understand it. Even like my parents were always like, you should get a real job, and I had one for a couple of years and then I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that your parents, even though, like you said, your dad was has his own business, has been an entrepreneur, and so he was still kind of encouraging you to work for the man as opposed to for yourself. What was the rationale there? Was it that they were just seeing the burnout or something, the time commitment that you were putting into it, and were worried that
I think it
for
was
that?
just stability, like obviously the stability of having that, consistent income coming in on a monthly basis is really what was kind of their driver. My mom obviously has like a full-time job, and she's always kind of been that stability, I guess, aspect. And she's like, you have to have that first and then go off. And it's like, yeah, that's where the mindset, I think,
Yeah,
came from.
yeah. Yeah, very interesting. And I mean, it's right. I mean, it's great to be able to have that stability for sure. And that's why there's so many, the gig economy is such an exploding thing because people are building businesses off the side of their desk and taking that staged approach, I guess, or a little less risky approach. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, there's something that's said to be just jumping in with 2 feet, though, isn't there?
Yeah, honestly, the gig approach and just like taking it, I encourage anybody who's like looking to start out as an entrepreneur. I'm like, yeah, do it on the side a little bit first, especially
Yeah,
depending on the product and your experience in entrepreneurship. But like, do it on the get to a point where if it's something you can do on the side, then 100% do that. Like, start
yeah,
like getting in that added like additional revenue stream. Like start making a couple extra $1,000 a month, then like get it to a point where you're like able to sustain your lifestyle, and then you can forego the 9 to 5.
yeah, yeah. And so obviously you've received advice from your parents, from other mentors that you've talked about. You've probably mentored other people as well. Here's your opportunity to mentor your younger self. So if you could send a letter back to, yourself, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, what would be in that letter? What would you be telling yourself?
It's a tough question. Yeah, don't give up, keep trying, keep testing.
Yeah,
I'm maybe a little like narcissistic in saying that, like, I always was like, I had enough drive, I always worked really hard, and just don't stop. And I knew one day I'd potentially be successful if I gave it enough goes. So yeah, just my younger self, I would just say keep going.
yeah, the persistence, right? And that was the number one thing that you said that every
Yeah.
entrepreneur needs to know is just the persistence of not giving up. You get knocked back, you get knocked down, get back up, right? And just try it again, try a different angle.
Yeah,
Uh,
and anticipate a new challenge every single day,
yeah,
because and or a problem that you'll have to solve. I'm a good problem solver, and that's like one thing I excel at. But yeah, I know 100%. Go with the expectation that every single day will be a new problem, not in a negative way, just in like a, hey, this is just life.
yeah, yeah. And I really liked what you were talking about earlier on too, is just the volatility that is within the crypto market. That's always going to create different challenges. But what you've done with this business is you've placed yourself in the middle of that in terms of you can profit on either side of that, right? Like when the markets are high and people are excited and it's attracting new investors, and then when the markets are low, it's the volatility that will kill a lot of businesses. You've created a business that is kind of volatility proof, or it's almost actually
Thrives in
amplified by
volatility.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's even just on our like hedge fund side of things, like we've really taken an approach, just looked at the asset as a whole and how we'll say emerging it is and immature it is, and with those things like the lower market cap and the amount of money that's in it, we look at it's going to be a volatile market, so our strategies really follow that, and yeah, so we really leverage that volatility at this stage in our business.
yeah, super smart. So Graham, if somebody wanted to connect with you just to pick your brain more about cryptocurrency, or to get to know you a little bit better, or to pitch you a new business idea, or to get involved with crypto in general, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is obviously a great one, just Graham Hansen. And then my email is graham@cash2crypto.ca. happy to take on people there. Anybody
And
reaches out.
and that would be with the numeral two, not the written
Yes,
out two.
absolutely.
So Graham at cash2crypto.ca, you said, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Graham. I really appreciate you taking the time today to chat with us a little bit about your business and your journey that you've been on thus far. And for those of you who were enjoying this episode and want to check out some of the archives, head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. That's where you're going to find the vault of 200 plus episodes. And then also, if you prefer to be listening to this, you can check this out on all of your major podcasting platforms out there. So just search Amplify Your Business and you'll find us there as well. Until next time, everybody have a prosperous day. And thank you very much, Graham. I really appreciate it.